Hello everyone, it is, what's day today? Tuesday, May the 12th, and I'm going to do a show you what my works in progress are, my WIPs. And I just saw Pam's video on her tag. What did she call it? Just one second. She called it stitching style tag. I think that's a good tag. So I'll do that as well. But first of all, I'll do the WIPs. And let's see now. The first WIP, actually, you know what? I'm going to show you what I haven't worked on. But I did progress a little bit further than the last time, which was quite some time ago. Oh, and I've got my computer. So hang on a second. Let's see if I can get this in here. There. This is Caminos House. This isn't really showing well. I am a little bit technologically challenged. So this is Caminos House. I've gotten a little bit further on it, but still have quite a ways to go. Let me show you the pattern. I'll put the computer back. I'm hoping that showed up okay. Let's see now. And that is this one, Caminos House. Ross Originals is the designer. And I'm also working on this bookmark, Michael Powell Bookmarks. It's this one here. I've finished all the cross stitching. Now the only thing left is the back stitching. It is amazing what difference it makes with the back stitching on Michael Powell's stuff. That makes it. So that's where I'm at, and it's really pretty neat. This is for my brother. He's turning 65 this year. Not till December, but I'm trying to get a jump on things because I tend to slow down. So I want to make sure I have things done and ready for him because this is a big birthday. The next two things are new starts, and the reason I did this is I'm watching your Stitch Mania. It's so exciting that I actually started two new projects, and this is something unusual for me because my brain can't seem to handle too much. But I got so thrilled that I just had to start. And actually, there's another reason for starting these projects. I've never done a design like a Haid. Heaven and Earth designs, and I want to try them. I have no idea what I'm doing. Even though I've been stitching for years, I've never done that type of stitching. So I picked two fabrics. One is a 25 count and one is a 28 count, and I'm stitching 2/1 on both of these. I want to see how it looks. So the first one is a 28 count. And this was a free pattern from Heaven and Earth. It's no longer there, but I printed it out when it was free. Let's see, it's a freebie, Christmas Animals, artwork, Luthu Travisi, Heaven and Earth. Now, all I'm doing, this is the whole piece, but all I'm doing is this little teeny tiny rabbit. That's it. I just want to give it a try and see how it looks. So, let me pull it up here. I thought I would try parking. That's something else I've never done. See, you guys are just so terrible. You're influencing me. New starts, all sorts of work. Gridding. I've never done gridding. I've gridded fabrics now. I'm trying Heaven and Earth designs. Boy, I wish you guys were around 20 years ago. At any rate, this is my start. It's not very far. I've done just a couple of teeny tiny stitches. So that's that. That's the 28 count linen, I believe. Is that linen? Yeah, I believe that's linen. So let me put that one back. And the other one is another freebie from, no, it's not a freebie. I bought it actually from stitchx.com. So it's stitchx.com. This is called Rabbit in the Forest, and you can choose to do, it's the same pattern, but different variations of it. So you can do a bigger size, more smaller size, close-up size. I've chosen this version 3, which is close-up, and it's this, and I'll do the whole thing. And this is going to be on 25 count. Now I've only gridded the fabric. I have not actually put the first stitch in. So I'll show you that when I actually get a stitch in there. So those are the things that I'm working on. Now for the stitchy tag. I do like this stitchy tag. Pam, yours was very interesting. I love hearing from you. I find it so interesting that you're out on the East Coast and the lobsters. When I was younger, well, until I was 20, I'll say, I never liked fish. I hated fish. And then I moved out to California for a year with my aunt who lived out there, and she took me out to have fish, and she had fish as well, but it was fresh caught that day. Well, boy, was fish good. I'd never had any idea. I'd only ever had I was always inland. I only ever had frozen fish. Never had eaten fresh fish. Makes a huge difference. Now I love fish. But I imagine it's the same with lobsters. Fresh that day, boy, they must be good. At any rate, let me start with your tag. Okay, favorite fabric. Even weave, whether it's linen or an even weave, is my favorite. However, I still do like Aida, and it's because it's such an easy stitch. It's great for smaller projects, quick things, etc. So I still do like Aida, and I still use Aida. Linen I absolutely love because of the look of linen when you stitch and you've got spaces in there. Linen is beautiful. Even weave is also very nice. With hardanger, I use the 22 count hardanger, and I also use a 25 count Lugana. And I would say that 25 count Lugana is becoming my favorite for the hardanger. And with the 25 count Lugana, I can still use the number 5 pearl cotton and the number 8 pearl cotton, so it makes it easy when I stitch my hardanger. So those are my favorite fabrics. I've got a little sticky on here so I can follow along. Hoop or frame or Q-snap or whatever. I used to use hoops a lot, but again, because I didn't know any better. I found scroll frames, so I got into scroll frames with a stand, whether it was a lap stand or a table stand or a floor stand. I ended up buying them all. We're a little obsessive, I think, as stitchers. And I do really like stitching two-handed. That is my favorite. Now, having said that, I still do a lot of in-hand stitching. I'm now moving into Q-snaps quite a bit. I don't use hoop frames much anymore at all. I use mainly Q-snaps. And I think because I can kind of leave it on the Q-snap, I think if the piece were covered with the actual clamp, I wouldn't leave it in the Q-snap. But when it's just fabric in the clamp, I leave it in the Q-snap. I just loosen it. So I do like the Q-snap for in hand, and I still work on the frame when I have to do two-handed stitching. Like that Caminos House, I like in the frame because it seems to go much faster with two-handed stitching. Let's see now, do you use a stand or just hold your frame? So I kind of answered that in the last question. I think my favorite would be two-handed stitching because it goes the fastest. However, the only thing I have available to me are scroll frames at the moment. Millennium frame would be great because you can get the fabric in and out so fast. But scroll frames, I find I'm stitching it on. I did try that Stitcher's Velcro that you can put on there. I didn't really like it that much. It seemed to be almost more work. So I've just left it to stitching it onto the scroll frame and leaving it there. What is your favorite time to stitch? My preferred time is in the morning. Always has been because I'm more awake, I can see better. And at night it's harder to see and I'm not as awake. But I would love to work at night, and maybe I'll try to do more at night because I find there's so much time there. In the morning, I don't seem to have as much time, but at night, there's so much time. So I'm going to give it a try. Maybe it'll work better. We'll see. We'll see. Do you use a printed paper copy or a chart or digital? I've never tried digital, although I did download, oh, what was it? Goodreader, I think it was. Carolyn Mazzio had a tutorial, and someone else had a tutorial as well. Um, so I do want to give that a try, but I'm still a paper girl. I love using my highlighters. I highlight whatever symbol it is I'm using in yellow, and then when I've stitched all those symbols, and when I'm done stitching all those symbols, I highlight in blue. And then I highlight in yellow the next symbol I stitch, so I can see. I find I need to do things just literally one step at a time. Are you a floss licker? I do occasionally, but my absolute favorite is my needle threader, and I did show it before, but it's this little guy. And I can actually thread 26 and maybe even 28 size tapestry needles with this little end. 26 definitely, because that's what I'm using right now. But I believe 28 I can even get onto this little end, so I do that. Do you hoard or buy supplies as needed? Hoard. My husband gives me such a hard time with this. Oh, I love stitchy stuff. We don't have any stitchy store, local needlework store anywhere near here. Years ago, there was one in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And that's where I would go once a year to visit my family. So I would save my money literally all year long, not spend a dime. And when I got to Ottawa, I would hit the cross-stitch store and I would just buy. So it was a once a year thing, and I ended up hoarding because of that. Now the closest store is in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. It's called Gitta's, Gitta''S. They are online. They're quite a good little store. And I've gone there once a year now, but I don't buy as much because I've got so much stuff. However, the exciting part is that next week my husband is taking me down to Toronto and I get to go to Gitta's. So I'm very excited. I've got a shopping list. I'm all set to go. Now, Pam did mention Michael's. Michael's is horrific for, oh, you know what? It just occurred to me there is a stitching store. It's she only has a few things. She's mainly a framing store here in Sudbury. It's Victoria's Custom Framing downtown in Sudbury. She does have stitching supplies, and she has quite a few patterns actually. But she doesn't have the selection of fabrics, we'll say, or something like that. But I did go in there a few months back to pick out, I needed some Krennic for a project I was doing. It was a free pattern from Krennic, or Kreinik, I'm sorry, I think that's how you say it. I went into her store and I needed about 6 or 7 Kreinik spools. And I thought, oh, well, let's see if she's got them because I'd rather get them from her than ordering online. So I went in. She had all of them, which really it surprised both of us actually when we were picking them out. So I was rather impressed that she had all of them. So when I need things like that, I will go into her store. But it's not a store that I would go in and look around a lot because she really doesn't have a lot of choice. She has more specific items. But Michael's is god awful. The only thing I think I would buy in Michael's is my DMC floss, maybe. I think I would rather go to the framing store here in Sudbury and get my DMC floss from her, only because she's a small store and she should be supported. But yeah, Michael's is disgusting. At any rate, and they're so expensive. At any rate, so next question. What is your favorite floss? And only because the only thing I really had available was DMC. So that's my favorite floss. If I lived near a local needlework store that carried all the flosses, like Gita's, say, she's got a ton of flosses, then I might get into some other types because I could buy them project by project. Um, but being so far away from these places, uh, I don't really get into that, and I don't like ordering online because it's so expensive for the shipping. Are you a serial starter or do you have a WIP at a time? I've always been just a WIP or two at a time. Like I said, I can only seem to do things one thing at a time. I zero in as opposed to having a lot around me. I'm not very good with too much around me. Uh, but as I said at the beginning, Stitch Mania has got me so excited. I've been watching all your videos. I did get caught behind on a lot, so I haven't commented as much as I'm trying to. Um, my computer had some problems, so I had to send it in, and then of course, you know, there's so many videos to catch up on. But you guys got me so excited that's why I have 2 new starts. So now I have 4 projects on the go, which is very unusual for me. But thanks a lot, guys. Um, do you have more FFOs or UFOs? I have a ton of finally finished objects. And very few UFOs, although I'm probably going to have more UFOs now that I'm watching Stitch Mania. Um, but I do eventually finish everything I start. So no, not really a lot of UFOs. Do you watch TV while stitching? I don't watch TV because I find it's distracting. Excuse me. But I do watch FlossTube while stitching. Before I my first, say, 10 years of stitching was stitching in quiet. But I was also working full time. I had a young son. It was a very busy time in my life. I really needed that quiet. That was healing for me. Um, then I moved into finding books on tape, which I got from the library. So I started listening to books on tape, which I got addicted to. It was a great way to stitch. I could listen to books and stitch at the same time. Now I do the books on tape and I do the YouTube because when I listen to you guys, I don't have to look up all the time. I can just sit and I can listen. I can hear you talk. I can nod my head and say, "Oh yeah, I know what you're saying there." And then every so often you'll say something and I'll have to look up. I'll look at your stitching and then I'll go back down to my stitching. So it's perfect for stitching. Um, Watching TV, I do knit when I watch TV, and I pick knitting projects that are very easy for TV watching. Dishcloths, scarves, you know, whatever is easy. No kind of brainless thing, so I can watch TV and knit at the same time. Do you mostly stitch alone or do you ever get together with someone to stitch? I mostly stitch alone. I think I prefer to stitch alone. I'm not a big social bug. In fact, I find socializing difficult. And I think that's a lot of people seem to say that who get on this YouTube thing. I love listening, but I'm not a big participator. So if I could stitch with a bunch of people and just sit back kind of invisible and listen, I'd be more than happy. But I think when you're with people, you're expected to participate, and I always find that difficult. Having said that, now I do have a few friends who do stitch. One in particular who, in fact, I got her stitching, and she's now addicted to Hardanger, which I think is awesome. Um, and I do get together with these friends. So it's just a couple of people. Sometimes there's more to the group, sometimes there's less. But I do find I really enjoy that because it gets you so excited for your stitching. I you know, like I said, I do that, but I don't think I could do that every week, for instance. But it's just my personality. Uh, I'm not an outgoing person. But anyway, that's a whole other discussion. Um, do you like to experiment and alter things with your charts, or do you stitch them just as written? Cross stitch, I do them exactly as written. I've never, trying to think, I don't think, oh no, 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 no. Actually saying that, I have changed two pieces I did, but for the most part, yes, I do cross stitch exactly as written. I've done two pieces. One was a wedding sampler. Actually, no, sorry, three pieces. Well, no, the two pieces. One was a wedding sampler for my husband and myself. It was originally a saying uh, from the Bible, but I changed the saying. And actually, again, I don't have a lot of imagination. This was years ago when there was the cross stitching store in Ottawa. It was up on the wall. Another woman had actually changed the saying herself. So what I did was I bought the pattern, I wrote down what she had changed it to, and very closely studied her piece before I left Ottawa, and then did the same myself. So I changed it, but I followed somebody else's change. The other piece I changed, I did myself. Again, it was the same idea. It was a birth sampler I did very recently for my great niece. Actually, she's my second great niece. So I did that one. It was again, I can't remember if it was a biblical saying or what the saying was, but I changed, instead of the saying, I put in her name, where she was born, the date she was born, that kind of information. So, but that's really the only thing I've ever changed, is those two pieces out of the hundreds I've stitched. And so cross stitch, really, I don't change anything. Hardanger, I do. Hardanger, I keep the pattern exactly the same, but I will choose my own material, whether it's the 22 count, the 25 count. I have tried, I think, a 32 count in Hardanger, 32 count linen, I should say, and I will change the threads. I'll pick out the threads. I'll use the DMC or the Karen. Oh, I always forget the name. Wildflowers, water lilies, whatever those Karen ones are. So I will do that in Hardanger, but it's mainly fabric and material, but not the pattern. I won't change the pattern. Okay, do you bobbinate floss or not? I used to bobbinate floss. I no longer bobbinate floss because I have now, I have just about all the DMC colors, but I also have duplicates, triplicates, quadruples of the DMCs. And this comes from um, uh, going, only being able to buy once a year way back when. So every time I went, I would buy more and more floss so that I could have as much floss, and I'd be able to start stitching right away because I didn't have anything at the time nearby. And if I have a color on a bobbin, I want to know I have an extra skein or two, so that if I run out or whatever. But if I have them in the bobbin cases, I'd have to bobbinate all the skeins. It was getting to be a nuisance. So now I keep them in the floss away bags. I think I showed that the last video. So I keep them in the the floss away bags. Sorry about that. Do you start a project in the middle of your fabric or at the corner? Ideally, I would prefer to start at the top left-hand corner and do it like I'm reading a book. So left to right, top to bottom. That's how I ideally would like to start. If a piece is complicated or large, I may start more in the middle. Now that I know about gridding and grid my fabric, I can really start anywhere I want. But preferably top left is where I like to start. Do you have a WIP rotation? As I said, I didn't really ever get into too many WIPs at a time. However, if I did have more than one, I would just pick up what I felt like. I never had an actual rotation. I don't think I could do a rotation, but good on you guys. I admire that, because then you get through everything, which is great. With me, I just, whatever I feel like. Sometimes it depends on how tired my eyes are, etc. So if my eyes are tired, I might pick up something on a 22 count hardanger or an 18 or 14 count Ada. If I can see better, I'll go on the higher counts. So maybe rotation more like that. Do you use a timekeeper to keep track of how long it takes you to complete a project? No, I don't. I never have. But I wish I did. So that's something I'm going to start. So I've been listening to different ways that you guys have been doing it. And I think what I will do is on the actual pattern, which I usually, I'll take a copy of the original, whatever original it is I have, and I'll use that as my working copy. So on my working copy is where I'll write down the day I started it. I don't think I will get into how many hours, but I think I will start by writing the date, the start date and the finish date. And that way I'll know. Do you use the parking technique? I've only just learned the parking technique. I've never used it. So my experiments that I showed you earlier in the video, the 2 new starts, I am going to try parking. I am more of a cross country. I will pick my symbol, do as many of that symbol in a small area. I don't want to go over too many stitches with thread in the back. And I'll do all of that symbol and then I'll go to the next symbol. But I would like to try parking, especially since I'd like to get into heaven and earth design. So that's why I'm experimenting. Do you keep your orts? I do keep them. I don't know why I keep them. After a while I think, why am I keeping these? So I throw them out. But every so often I think, well, I should make a little pin cushion or something, or stuff it, make a little scissor keep or something and stuff my orts into it. So that's something I've been thinking about, but I keep them and keep them and keep them and then throw them out. And then I keep them and keep them and keep them and throw them out. Do you like to have a snack or drink while stitching? No, I don't. I've always been afraid of spilling something. I come from, my father's well, he's still alive, but he has Alzheimer's, so he's no longer practice. Well, I should say he was a pianist, jazz musician. He's in his late 80s now, but I mean, all my life I grew up. Well, my young growing up years, he had his workroom with a piano in it. And if you went into his workroom, first of all, you did not bring a drink in his workroom. If you were to play the piano, you had to wash your hands first. It was very, very particular, and with good reason. This was his livelihood. This is how he supported his family. So you did not mess with the piano. And I kind of think of the same thing with my stitching. I don't mess with my stitching. It's not my livelihood, but it is something that's extremely important to me, so I'm very afraid of bringing food or drink near it. So that's, I think, about it. I just want to say once again, thank you to everyone. I absolutely love watching you. You get me thrilled to keep going. I love watching your pieces. I love watching what you pick out. I love watching your progression. I love hearing about how you live, what you do, where you live, your family, your pets. I mean everything. It's lovely to watch, and you guys are such a good bunch that it's inspiring. I really hope that YouTube brings people together with whatever their interests are, and I think it's wonderful that we can have such good vibes, I guess, in the world, all over the world, connecting, which I think is fantastic. At any rate, thank you very much. I will sign off. Do I have anything else? No, I think that's it. I will sign off, and we'll see you the next time.